Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the Big Movement Podcast. Today we have a special guest. We have Davide Di Giorgio, who is a longtime theater producer, creator, educator, and audacious, let's go for the word audacious entrepreneur. His unapologetic approach that shatters the mold of following blueprints, formulas, and systems has quickly made him the go-to creative expert for successful speakers. So let's learn about how he helps people become successful speakers. So, David, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Byron. Great to be here.
Sure, definitely. So how did you go from being in theater to helping people become successful speakers? Because it's a little bit of a transition there.
There's a little bit of a transition, and at the same time, it fits perfectly. And really what prompted the change was I moved from Canada to the United States. And in that time, when I was going through the whole immigration process, I thought to myself, okay, well, what do I want to do with myself now that I've grown up? So in that time, I started to think about, I love theater, and theater's been a very, very big part of my life. But I'm at a different phase of my life now where I don't necessarily want to do the 18 and 20-hour days and not have a guaranteed income. And, as we get older, our focus changes a little bit. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, what can I do with this, 25 years worth of working with performers and singers and actors? And I've also been a teacher. I taught at a performing arts high school program for 10 years. And I realized that as I started going to a lot of different events, I live in San Diego now, and there's no shortage of entrepreneurial events out here. I started watching these really successful entrepreneurs get on the stage and speak, and I was frankly horrified at what I was witnessing on the stage. No offense to anybody, but from my perspective, it was just terrible, and I couldn't understand how they were so successful and what they were delivering on stage, like how those two things were connected. So, because what I see is a lot more potential than what success level they were already experiencing. So it started to happen by accident that I started to work with some people who wanted to get their message out on stages. And I realized that if I was able to, well, let me put it this way. The whole time that I was in theater, and I was in musical theater in particular, I was able to help people translate lyrics, which are extremely abstract, into something that people were able to ultimately clap, give a standing ovation for, and create success in theater. And so working with words, working with true communication that isn't abstract is almost easier than working with performers. So I feel like I got real deep training in my life by working with singers and performers in the theater. And now working with speakers is really the perfect transition. And I feel like I can actually make an even bigger impact on the world by helping people spread their messages through their businesses and through the visions and missions that they have for themselves.
Oh, excellent. And you hit it there on the head of the similarity, because you think about when people are on stage, mm-hmm. It's a performance at the end of the day. It's just that the message is different than someone being on stage in a theater. That there is for entertainment, but this time is for conveying a message for a business.
Absolutely. And there's some people who will argue and say, oh, no, you should. Well, there's this epidemic. There's a few of them going on in the speaker industry right now where people are saying, oh, no, it shouldn't be a performance. You should just be natural. And what you're missing is this. Those speakers that absolutely move you, that become the viral speakers that we all want to watch and see, they have so many hours of practice at their message, what they deliver, their marketing, their branding. There's so much that goes into it that it comes across as natural and authentic. It's not that they just showed up that way. There are very few people who just show up as great speakers. Because even the greatest speakers, and to expand this thought container, even the greatest singers and the greatest actors have producers and directors and people behind the curtain for them.
Right, exactly. It's a transition. If you look at any of your big speakers out there, think about the production crew, all these things that go into place where if it's a new venue, they're looking at, okay, where should I do this? That they're choreographing everything about their presentation to maximize its impact.
Right, and people do put a lot into it, and it is an ongoing process of like, okay, what worked at this talk, and what do I want to do more of, or how do I want it to convert? At the end of the day, whether you're selling something or not, you're always selling yourself, in the sense that you have one shot when you get on that stage. And this is what a lot of speakers miss, is that you have one shot to get on that stage and make an impact. And one of two things is going to happen. People are going to be moved and inspired and take action to either follow you for the rest of their life or not follow you for the rest of their life. And that's a one-time opportunity. So the next time I see your name as a speaker on the list of speakers, I will either come to your talk and bring all my friends and tell everyone, oh my goodness, I want, you got to stay at this session, it's going to be awesome, or enroll in this breakout session because this speaker is amazing. Or I'm going to tell everyone to skip the session, go to lunch, and I'm going to take everyone I know with me. So speakers don't understand the gravity of their product, which is their communication, their talk, what they deliver from the stage.
Right, and that is critical. It's that people can really understand the importance that they are their own brand in that capacity. They're not performing for someone else where it's this other people's material where they're mastering it. They have to dive in and look, well, what is it that's going to convey the message properly? What's going to captivate them? What's going to make them think, I want to follow this person more than anyone else out there?
Exactly, and it's everything, because I mean, we all know there's no shortage of speakers out there. Everybody is a speaker now.
Right.
Because people are starting to realize, well, if I want to create impact, I need to get on the stage. And that could be a digital stage, or it could be a live stage. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not speaking, nobody's going to get the impact of what you have to deliver in the world. Whether it's in the economic marketplace, or in the inspirational or spiritual, you have to get your message out there. And the more impactful you can be with your message, the more impact you can create on them out there in the world.
Right, exactly. So now, when you mention this concept that speaking is not just being on stage, but be online and other places, how does someone determine what's the best platform for them? Because there's some people that you put them in front of, even 20 people physically, it's a kryptonite to Superman. But they can talk all day and night online.
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, when speakers come to me with any kind of a fear or any block, like, oh, I don't do that, I'll do podcasts without video, but as soon as the video turns on, look, this is a craft. And what I try to tell people is this. Look, you've been speaking your whole life. So let's forget the medium. Because at the end of the day, you've been speaking your whole life. And if you can have a conversation to me about you wanting to speak, then you're already more than halfway there. You know the language, you know how to make the words and the sounds, you know how to tell a story in most cases by the time that you're at the level where you're saying, okay, I need to make a bigger impact and speak. So the fact is now is to hone the message, to hone your craft of speaking so that it can create the biggest impact. The medium itself is irrelevant because speaking works everywhere. So the fact of the matter is, when you get really good as a speaker, fear turns into opportunity. Fear dissolves because it's no longer about your fear of speaking. The real fear is, what if nobody gets your message? Because you didn't show up on that video podcast, or on that virtual summit, or in front of those 3,000 speakers, or 20 speakers in that workshop someone invited you to do. That's what you should be afraid of as a speaker, and even as an entrepreneur with a message, is the fear of your message not getting out to the world. And I think that fear is bigger than your fear of standing up in front of 20 people.
Right, and you hit it on the head. people have to overcome all those obstacles. When you look at it, everybody has that gift and that talent that can impact someone's life, and it's recognizing if they don't do it, what impact they're having in the world, which becomes nothing.
Right, zero. Yeah, it's very black and white here. Do you want to have impact or do you not want to have impact? And the more we stay inside of ourselves, the me culture, and we think about it and we work on it, and maybe next year I'm going to share my message, or maybe in a few years when I'm ready I'll be a speaker. No, you know, one of the taglines in my business is you're ready to be unforgettable. You're ready now. And when you decide that you're ready now, then we can shift the thinking from me to we, and go so far as shifting the thinking from me to we to them, because it's about them out there.
Right. Exactly. So how does someone determine that they have a message that's worth sharing? Because some people think they haven't done anything, so there's this lack of self-worth in that regards. But everybody has a story. How does someone determine that it's valuable to an audience?
That's a great question. And I guess the easiest way for me to answer it is that it's interesting because it does start with me, the individual, first, and you have to do the work. And you have to go deep in the work to really determine what value does my experience and my story have for the world. And those of us who, like some speakers, even for me, for example, I have this very colorful history, varied life. My home was hit by lightning and burnt to the ground. I've traveled the world. I've been a flight attendant. I've worked for Club Med. I've had theater. I've pitched for major television. I've done all sorts of great things in my life. I owned a yoga studio. And so some people, when they get into comparanoia, they think, well, I'm not good enough. And that's not true, because the fact of the matter that you're here, I see you as a miracle. And so it's just a matter of looking at your life and doing that internal work to figure out, what is it that I want to do here in this world? What can I do for them? And so you see, when you look at yourself and say, well, what do I want to do for them out there in the world? All of a sudden, it shifts, because everybody, when they really ask the question and they sit with themselves and realize, well, what if I could, and it wasn't about money, what would I do with the world? And everyone has a vision and a mission. It's just that we don't take the time to ask that question.
Right. And that in itself is a question people have to ask, because you think about, people are always focusing on the money instead of, if you took the money component out and simply focused on sharing your gift, the money will come.
Right, and go so far as to, what is the gift for them out there? So yes, it's about your gift, but it's how it relates out there in the world. So what do you want to do out there in the world? Because we could do all day long for ourselves, but the impact is minimal if we're only working on ourselves. And when you start to show up in life literally on fire because you have this mission that you want to impact, raise money for organizations, help people in different countries, help a local school or community center, all of a sudden the money comes because people get excited. They can enroll in that vision. You can enroll people in that vision. And really, as speakers, we become master enrollers. That's really what the thing about being a speaker is. But it's not about enrolling you into my vision. As a speaker, we have to enroll everyone in the audience into their vision. And when you enroll your audience into their own vision, that's when they stand and give you a standing ovation. And you move them into action in their life so they can go on and make the impact that they want to make out there in the world.
Incredible. And that's powerful, because people have to dive into the whole notion of becoming part of something bigger, because that's what everybody wants to. They want to be part of something.
Absolutely. Exactly. And there's no money involved in that. But
Right.
The beauty is, when you get involved in something bigger than just yourself, the money will come. There's so much money out there. There is total abundance, right? And as a speaker, I actually don't like to say as a speaker, because we're all speakers. Because all of our lives, our entire life as kids, how did we enroll people to play in the sandbox with us? How did we enroll people when we were in school to be part of our group or to play a sport with us or whatever it is, you know? And when we think back to when we were kids, we were really master enrollers. So what's the difference now? See, we forget, because as kids, we didn't need money, but we just had abundance. We had friends and there was playtime and all sorts of great stuff happened to us. So if we take the money equation out and do what we really want for the people out there, everything else comes into alignment.
And you hit something on the head very important there. As you think about it, as kids, enrolling people, but the difference between when someone's a kid and now is fear. That people have fear instilled into them, like, oh, you can get hurt. What if your feelings get broken? And all these other things. Versus when you're a kid, you didn't know any better. Like, hey, you want to play? You didn't care. You just asked somebody.
Right. And then life beats us down. And then we think, well, what if insert negative statement, right? What if I fail? What if I fall? What if I go bankrupt? What if I lose money? And then what about this? What if I fly? How about that? And like we said, you know, fear is just an opportunity. So when we can have dialogue with our fears and say, okay, fear, what are you really about? And you think, well, what is the worst thing? What is the best thing that can happen? Always look at the other side and choose the other side, the what if I fly side. And then fear becomes opportunity. I say to people who speak on stages or whatever platform, if you don't have any fear, then that's an indicator to me that you're not doing something that is big enough. Because fear drives us. And when we choose for fear to drive us in a positive way, closer into a bigger vision, into a bigger mission, then fear is a useful tool. Because if we had no fear and no anxiety of anything, well, we wouldn't do anything. We would just sit around all day and there would be no impact on the world in any way. So we can turn fear into opportunity when we look at it in a way of, okay, I got something big to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. How is none of our business. But when I learn to communicate it so effectively, I will enroll people in that vision, in their vision, which could be the same as your vision, right? But to do something together to make some impact on the world.
Right. And that's important because fear is that one thing. Like you said, it can either drive you or it can paralyze you.
Exactly. And it's a choice. It literally is a choice. Okay, I'm going to let fear stop me from speaking in front of those 20 people, or I'm going to let fear inspire me to get in front of those 20 people and move them into action.
Right. Now, as we're moving forward here, so if someone, like, they've overcome their fears, realize that, yes, I want to become a speaker, they've figured out their message, how does someone go out there and begin getting on stages, getting on these platforms? Because some people, it's this new type of situation. Like they just don't know. It's I know they're speakers, but now what?
So I love this because this is one of the epidemics out there, especially with speaker coaches. It's that they promise, and even my free lead magnet talks about this, because what most people want, okay, so now I'm a speaker, they've declared it, I want to speak, I need to get on stages. And here's the thing. The first thing you need to do is, again, look at the product. Have you developed your product, which is the talk, and your message into something that will create the impact you want? Because remember, you have one shot. In that one shot, the next step of that, what's going to happen is when you speak in front of people, they will either help you to spread your message further or they will not. What does that mean? People will either be enrolled in your vision and say, hey, I'd love you to speak at my group, or I have an opportunity for you, or they won't. And so there's a lot of speakers walking around there saying, oh, all I need is more stage time, more stage time. I know what I offer as a speaker. I just need more stage time. And I say to them this, really? If you were that good and you know what you offer as a speaker, then from every speaking gig, every group of people that you talk to, including the people on your Facebook stage, because that is an audience, would hire you out to speak, would ask you, would invite you into their groups, into their networking groups, into their chambers to speak to them. So here's the thing. You can't do it alone. Because you don't actually know what you offer as a speaker until you work with people who will help you craft the message. And when you do, then you can, when you speak, people will start to book you over and over in perpetuity again. So if you want to get on other stages, look, here's the thing. Like I said, Facebook, there's your first stage. And so here's the biggest question. When someone comes to me and says, well, you know, I've decided I want to be a speaker and I want to speak on stages, first question I ask is this. How many people know that you're a speaker? And most people will say to me, even the people who say they're speakers and have spoken on several stages, their eyebrows raise and they're like, oh, you're right, huh? Because this is what I see. I go to their LinkedIn profile or their Facebook or their website, and speaker is buried, if anywhere, somewhere on their website, or there's a little tab or something. And on their LinkedIn profile, it says, you know, world changer, entrepreneur, and author. Well, here's the problem. I can't hire a world changer. I can't hire an entrepreneur. I don't know what that does. I definitely can't hire an author. But I can hire a speaker. And when you lead with that and you tell everyone that you are a speaker first, because then a speaker can make an offer and enroll you into the vision of, this is what I can do in my business, this is what my business supports you with, or this is what my vision can, you know, support you in your life with. Well, I can hire a speaker to share a message, and then from the message, I can pay you for a service or a product or whatever if it's right for me. But people lead with these esoteric things, I help people, blah, blah, blah. Well, it doesn't mean anything to me. I can't hire that. But I can hire a speaker to change my audiences. And remember, the audiences are all out there. You want to speak? Get 30 of your friends together in a common room at your condominium or whatever that is, right? And speak. Start speaking. And then go to events and network and tell people, hey, I want to speak. I've seen it so many times in the last several months. People who aren't even speakers put up their hand at an event and say, I have this dream of speaking on 50 stages this year. By the end of that event, they've already booked 2 or 3 opportunities because people want to help people who are up to something big. When you just say, hey, I want to be a speaker out there, you know, oh, I want to be a speaker. Well, what's the vision? There's no vision there. There's no mission. That's about you. Why do you want to be a speaker? What is your message and vision? People will help you to fulfill that if it's big enough.
Right. And you hit something there very critically. That people tend to forget about leveraging their network, that the sphere of influence, because there's always going to be those who can help someone get on that stage. You think about how many people the average person knows that's, let's say they're in a networking group, they're in some type of a community organization where they have speakers coming in, but until you tell them that you do this, they don't know to ask you.
Right. And this is the thing. We're very forgetful and very scattered as a society, right? So if people don't know that you're a speaker first, you will never get that opportunity. They'll go to these websites and, you know, try to find speakers and Google speakers for fill in the blank topic that they're looking for. Meanwhile, you've been there the whole time dreaming and wishing, right? Instead of telling people, hey, I'm a speaker, this is my vision, this is my mission, this is my message, and if you have any opportunities for me, I'd love to share that with anyone that you know. Well, now you stay top of mind. Oh, David's a speaker, Byron's a speaker, you know, first, before David's an entrepreneur. So what? What is the impact of an entrepreneur? I don't know what that is without qualifying it further.
Right. And I think that's where people get lost at. They're focused on putting something like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, that's great and all, but
Yeah.
What's the result that you generate for people? Because people want to hire someone to come in front of them to help them facilitate a result.
Right. So it's so funny because if we're very selfish as people. It's very difficult for us to get out of the me thinking, right? Because them out there, all they're thinking, those people that we want to get to, they're only thinking about me, about themselves. So now, if we want to get out in front of them, who do we have to think about? Them. Not me, not myself. I have to think about them. So my message, whatever comes out of my mouth, what I put on my social media platforms, has to directly serve them. So that in turn, the goal is to inspire them to go inspire more people outside of their sphere of influence as well.
Right, exactly. And that is critical too, in that capacity. So now you mentioned people even just leveraging Facebook to begin getting their message out there. How can someone leverage Facebook or any other social media platform to position themselves as a speaker instead of, because they might be somewhere where there's not, let's say, a lot of networking groups that have speakers, but when there's almost 2 billion people on Facebook,
Right.
it's a great platform. So what should people be doing there for that positioning?
Well, the first thing is, look, you have to tell everyone, and what I mean by everyone is everybody in your Facebook circle right now, all of your friends, all of your family, because look, it's a ripple effect. Everybody knows everybody, right? And the 6 degrees of separation. So use your Facebook wall as the platform. Start telling people, declare it. Hey, I have a message. This is what I'm up to, and I'm going to start speaking about it, quote in quotes, speaking on Facebook about it. Do you message like, oh, I got my coffee this morning, and what are you talking about on Facebook? That is your audience, and they're either paying attention to you or they're unfollowing you from your message because it's about nothing. Are you adding value to your Facebook audience, those people who see what you're talking about on Facebook? And as soon as you get clear about what you're about on Facebook, all of a sudden, people start to get moved. Look, this was a big experiment for me because, I grew up in the age of the dawn of the internet. And so this, for you and I, Byron, this is a little bit of a newer platform. And we have to kind of figure it out in that sense, right? It's like, okay, well, how do I really connect with people on Facebook? So I started to now talk about something very consistently that I work with speakers, and then I speak, and this is the message that I want to put out there. And all of a sudden, the people who've been on my Facebook for however long I've been on Facebook, 10 years or so, are now starting to respond to me in a different way. Because it's no longer about, oh, I went for a walk and I did this and I did that. Every message is filtered through the lens of me being a speaker or working with speakers, or that I'm helping people get their message out in the world. Every message. So there's focus all of a sudden now. And so when you focus your message out to your audience, even on Facebook, the people who already know you, your message starts to land in a more impactful way. And it's the same thing when you get on a stage. Focus your message, and your audience will start to respond to you. So look at your Facebook feed. What do you put out every day? And start to say, what do I really want? What am I up to in my life? And filter everything through that lens on your Facebook feed, and watch how people start to respond to you, and maybe even invite you to speak to their networking group. When you ask for it and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is my mission. This is my vision. This is what I want to do. I want to get this message out there. Someone's going to be moved, but you have to be almost obsessive about it. You can't post too much on Facebook about the same thing over and over and over again in different ways. Yeah.
And that's so important, because I see people every day, they're posting random stuff.
Random, right. We don't know what they're about.
Right. Versus when you're focused, you have a consistent message out there, it changes things. And and it all goes back down to, the more you put yourself out there, the more people you know, because there's some people in the market will say, well, don't post too much. My philosophy is, you post as much as it takes to get your message out there.
Exactly. And the beauty is this: when you get to and I don't know that there's a specific ratio, but when people get known for when you get known for what you do, and people know what you do, then you can start to pepper in the little rant, because we want humanity, obviously. So sure, if people know what I do in my life, that I help speakers deliver their messages so that they can transform their audiences forever, well then when I go out for a walk with my dog, that shows humanity. And I post a picture of my weekend, it shows humanity, right? And the lifestyle that I'm able to live based on what I do. It's not random anymore, right? It shows humanity then. But the majority of what you put out there to your audience, and everybody is your audience, including your close and personal family that you live with, the majority of what you put out there has to be focused on your bigger vision and mission. And then you pepper in the humanity in that, and people will be moved by that.
Right, exactly. It's what captivates people, because now you're creating a movement that people can follow, because people want to become part of something bigger. You look at some of the great things that have happened over the past 100 years, and it's all because there was a vision that people could buy into. And then you look at the things that fell over flat, like you wonder, well, why didn't it work? Because people didn't buy into it. I liked looking at the movie industry. You look at, like Star Wars as an example. It's something because there's such a diverse story there. People buy into, they visualize it, they feel they're part of it, which then spawns all these other conventions that take place all over the place. And then you look at some other movies, and you look at, well, I guess that was 2 hours of my life I'm never getting back from watching it.
Exactly. And so it's interesting because when the mission and the vision is big enough and it's scary enough, and just like in the word you used in my intro, right, the audacious word, like if it's audacious enough, and here's the interesting point that I want to sort of make, for good or for bad, because when we look at history, thank you for bringing that up, some of the visions and missions of people have not been positive. However, they have been big enough that they've enrolled people into them. Sometimes it's not positive, but when that vision is so big, people want to be part of something bigger. And when that speaker is so compelling and so focused on that vision and mission, they're able to create a movement under them.
Right, exactly. That is spot on. And people have to understand that when you have a platform, there's that responsibility that you're going to make a positive impact in the world. Because just when you look at history, we can all think of examples of where someone was in that position and, well, they did really horrible things.
Right, exactly. So when you understand communication, you become an effective speaker and communicator. Really, you can do anything. And I'm not talking about NLP. There's another one of the epidemics that's going out there. Everybody is going into these NLP trainings, which can be used for total manipulation. I don't teach speakers how to NLP their audiences. I teach speakers how to become so authentic, so obsessive about communication and how they communicate and how they deliver their message that they absolutely inspire people into action. That's what it's about. It's not about the NLP techniques. It's about being so, because NLP is derived from observing the best communicators and what they did in order to move audiences. And so NLP is a science that came from that, from observation, right? Like we didn't get it out of the sky, it came out of observation, which is basically like all of our knowledge nowadays has come out of observation and study and data collection and experiment, right? Same thing with NLP. So look, we created it. We created all the NLP techniques, right? It's in our blueprint, it's in our DNA. So I just help people to get closer back to what that actually is, their DNA, their true blueprint. And that's what I say to speakers when they ask me, David, what's your blueprint for becoming an unforgettable speaker? I said, here's the secret. You are the blueprint. It's your message, your vision, your passion, your mission that is the blueprint. And we figure out what that is to bring that to life in a way that is unique and unforgettable to you. Because when you stand in your glory, you allow other people to stand in their glory. And that's what creates enrollment in your vision. And you create a movement that way.
Right, exactly. And it's powerful when people can understand that they have that crystal clarity on what they're doing. But more importantly, people have to show up authentic. But you look at it as those who go into the seminars to learn NLP to try to make up for shortcomings, I like to say it's kind of like a pickup line. And if you think about someone's out at a bar, a pickup line is only going to get you so far. If you have no substance, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You're not going to go any further. And that's what's happening with people. Like, they look for, what's the shortcut? What will get me in the door? Like, well, when the door's open, you still have to make it happen.
Exactly. And so this is the epidemic, and you've seen this so in your line of work. People put so much focus on the funnel, and then at the end of the funnel, once they've gotten them, they've paid, everything falls flat. There's no delivery. So you can't just deliver the pickup line. Then what? What happens when I marry you? What happens when I go out on that first date? What happens when you take me to dinner? Are you going to be a deadbeat? You know what I mean? And that's what's happening in the entrepreneurial world. After the great marketing funnels, there's nothing. We've all felt that. We purchased that product because, the pre-launch videos are so great and we're so excited. And then we see the product and the videos and the coursework. It's terrible. We have to stop doing that. We have to be able to deliver. And the way you do that is you stay focused and committed on your vision and mission, and it has to be big enough, and it has to be about them and serving them. If you're in it just to make a buck, sure, it's going to fall flat after because you lose interest. So what's going to move you to want to do this in perpetuity for the long term?
Right. And that is powerful in itself, because here's what I was thinking about that. It's where people always fall short. They get into this mindset because they fall into the trap of, oh, get your product out there, get this information, learn how to make all this money. But something that's missing is learn how to impact thousands of people, change their lives, which is more important and more lasting, because anybody can go through a course, follow a blueprint to build a funnel and start marketing it, getting people on their list and making money. That's not hard to do. But the difference comes down to people doing the work, so they create an experience, because people want to become part of something. You think about places like Disney. They have everything choreographed, so you have an amazing experience, so it compels you to tell people, and these days, share everything about your trip on social media to influence others to want to come there.
Exactly, and thank you for bringing that up, because two things. One, I'm all about the experience. It's not even about speaking, so what? That doesn't, get me excited. Creating an experience for them is what it's all about. And Disney, it's no mistake that they have a 70% return rate. It's because everything is absolutely engineered with the experience in mind. And it's absolutely brilliant. Disney is a global enterprise built on the concept of wishes and dreams. A completely esoteric, intangible thing. And they've built a multi-billion-dollar enterprise on it, because they understand that Disney World is the touch point, is their major touch point, and then everything else around that, the films and the characters and the merchandise, helps you to be enrolled in their vision of these wishes and dreams. And it's not about their wish or dream. They're creating wishes and dreams so that you can dream and wish bigger for what you want. And that's why you keep going back over and over.
Right, exactly. You think about taking all the way back to when Walt Disney came up with the whole concept of Disneyland and Disney World. It was because of having that compelling vision to do something bigger than himself.
Right. And he saw, again, through observation, right? Like, his observation was there were no parks out there where a dad could enjoy his daughters, and have rides together. That's what it was for him. Yeah. So he thought, okay, well, this is my vision. Well, who doesn't want to be part of that? Every parent wants to enjoy time with their kids, not sitting on the sidelines, but to be immersed in it with them, in that experience with their kids. That vision was big enough that, look, years and years later, it's still going strong. There's no stopping them.
Right. Because it was something that's timeless, and that's where I think people have to focus in on more as well, that not to look at what is the hot thing right now to capitalize on it, because those fads are going to come and go. But what can you build that's going to be there for the long term? Because you think about social media, online marketing, or whatever, it doesn't matter what the platform is currently. The core principle is still the same. You have to have a message that people want to buy into and ultimately share.
Right. And it has to be big.
Right.
Because if it's not big enough, it will not excite people. If it's not giving them goosebumps, if it doesn't give you goosebumps, you got to rethink this. It's got to be something so big that people are like, oh, wow. We need to have wow factor. And I talk about that with speakers too. Like, what's your wow factor? Let's work on that. Because if it doesn't wow me as a speaker coach, it's not going to wow your audience. And it's lost opportunity. We don't want to lose. You cannot, the whole concept of churn and burn, you're going to run out of people to talk to eventually.
Right.
And yeah, there's 7 billion, but wouldn't it be better if you talk to less people to create a bigger impact? That's really what it's about for me. Yeah, I want you to speak to thousands and thousands and thousands, but those people that you talk to, you want the ripple effect to be huge.
Right. Exactly. And that's where people have to focus more on the quality aspect, because we get in this notion of you just have to go through as many people, because many people as possible into your funnel, but it's the wrong approach. Versus if you get the right people on board, it changes everything.
Well, and here's the beauty of it. When you become an effective communicator and speaker, you turn the funnel upside down because you are one person with a powerful, big vision and mission. You are at the bottom of the funnel, and it amplifies outwards from you. Instead of you trying to grab and fill the top of your funnel. No. You are at the end of the funnel, right? Like you are where they come. You are the source, and you project outwards. And your impact is the funnel, right? So you flip it upside down. That's the beauty of speaking and becoming so good at speaking that you change the world.
Right. And ultimately, it's done one person at a time, one group at a time, and then it spreads outward from there.
Exactly.
And that's what people have to understand. So, now, what type of freebies or things like that you have out there? Because you mentioned that earlier. Because obviously, people want to know more about becoming a speaker. Like, well, how do I do that?
Yeah, I have, if you go to unforgettable.talks.com, I have a great resource there that will literally get you in the next 30 days 3 speaking gigs. And it's 3 simple things that you do, 3 simple strategies. One of them is tell everyone, like we talked about. And you will get yourself opportunities to speak. Unforgettable.talks.com. And if you take action on that, you get to actually schedule a free call with me to share what your vision and mission is as a speaker. And you know what, for your audience, I'll go so far as to just say, look, if you're up to something big and you get goosebumps about it and you want to share that with me, then you can schedule a call with me at letstalk.unforgettable.talks.com. And I'd love to help you turn the funnel upside down, for you to be the funnel to really impact outwardly.
Oh, that's great. So one of the things I always ask guests is one thing that they can be able to do today to make an impact. So in the realm of speaking, what's one thing that a person can do to start really getting their message out there to start getting booked?
First thing you need to do is go change all of your social media. And if you say author, entrepreneur, whatever, if you're attached to it, great. But put speaker first. Change it around. Put speaker first. Identify yourself as a speaker. And that is the first step in taking action to telling everybody. And the bonus part is go so far as to start telling everyone. Reach out to your warm market, we'll call them, your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn friends, people that you already know who have rapport with you. And after be natural about it, build the rapport, repair your relationship if you need to, if you haven't talked to them in 7 years or whatever. And then tell them, hey, I'm starting to speak about this. I'm speaking on this topic. I have a vision about this. Tell everyone, and you will get yourself booked real fast.
Oh, excellent. That's really valuable. It's what makes a difference. So besides going to unforgettable.talks.com, how can people be able to reach out to you and learn more about speaking?
Yeah, that's the best way. You get on my email list there, and like I said, if you want to reach out and talk about speaking, book a time on my calendar directly at letstalk.unforgettable.talks.com, and find me on Facebook with my name, David with a bonus vowel E. And I'd love to hear what you're up to and how you want to impact the world, and how together we can turn that funnel upside down and make you be unforgettable today so that you can transform audiences forever.
Oh, excellent. Well, I want to thank you for coming to the Big Movement podcast today, David, and sharing your wealth of wisdom about being a speaker, but not only that, but really conveying your message to create a movement and impact the world.
Byron, thank you so much. Thank you for having me be a part of your amazing audience.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.